All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD 1000 Web Development Technologies course, I've been creating a series of video presentations based on the Mozilla Developer Network Learn Web Development series. I'm on the client-side JavaScript frameworks, and we're talking React. And in the last video, I started going through this and handling the form submission, etc., and doing a callback and state, and it uses the hook. And I think I left off trying to look here. So remember, we're not going to cover Ember, Vue, Svelte, or Angular. But, and here last time we did the componentizing. And we were doing this, the events and state. All right, and I think I'd done this last time, and I came up with, it wasn't working, let's put it that way. Well, I've gotten it to work. All right, and I just wanted to show you that when I run this now and I click add, it does come up and say hello world as it said it was supposed to do. So what did I have to do in order to be able to do that? Well, in my form.js, that's where that handle submit went, and it was supposed to go at the bottom. Part of the problem is I had it at the top before this was even defined. So it appeared to like it more when I put it at the bottom, but it was supposed to go in the form.js. So again, what this said was on submit, I should be calling handle submit, which was right there, which meant prevent the default, which said don't have this go anywhere, all right, and just give me an alert that says hello world. Well, while I was doing this, I had taken this handle submit and I tried putting it in here where it did not belong. So the point is, long story short, now it appears to be working the way that it should. Okay, all right, so let's jump back. So this was the handling form submission, and now we're up, I think we're around here to the callback props. And some of this may be a little bit of review, and if it is, I'm sorry. So in React applications, interactivity is rarely confined to just one component. Events that happen in one component will affect others. Well, that's one of the reasons that we're breaking things up into chunks, as they say. When we start giving ourselves the power to make new tasks, things that happen in the form component will affect the list rendered in app. We want our handle submit function to ultimately help us create a new task. So we need a way to pass information from form to app. We can't pass data from child to parent in the same way that we pass data from parent to child using standard props. Rather, what has to be done is we can write a function in app that will expect some data from the form as input. Then, as it says, pass that function to a form as a prop. This function as a prop is called a callback prop. And this is a lot of stuff to be taking in. And please realize that we're just starting on this. So it's not like you're going to go through this and say, I understand 100% of it. I now can do 100% of it. All right. Okay. Once we have our callback prop, we can call it inside a form to send the right data to app. So inside of our app component function, create a function called add task, which has a single parameter of name. Now I may have this already, so let's check. There's add task alert name. All right. Now I'm not sure if I have to do this or not, but just like before, I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it down here. So it's at the bottom. No place did it say you had to do that. It's just what I've decided to do. All right. Next, we'll pass add task to form as a prop. Again, I may have this in here already. And I do. All right. The prop can have whatever name you want, but pick a name you'll understand later. And again, well, since the function is called add task, it sure makes sense to call the prop add task. All right. So it says your form component should be updated as follows. I've done that. Finally, you can use this prop inside of handle submit in your form. And that's what we just did. All right, so the props.add task, and that was to say hello. So clicking the add button on the browser will prove that add task callback works, but it would be nice if we could get the alert to show us what we're typing in our input field. So again, what they're saying in English is right now, when we go in and we run this, and let me bring it back up again. In fact, if you haven't figured out, it's the day after I did the last one, so there's a few things I've got to set up here. So let's bring this up and do our git bash, and let's start up npm. In fact, node of, is it index? No. npm start. There we go. All right, so we're there. And again, we should now be able to go to localhost 3000 as it's saying, and there it is. Now, when we click add, right now we should be getting that alert that says hello, and we are hello world. What we want to be able to do is we want to be able to put something in here, like, you know, how are you? And when we click add, what we want to have come up rather than hello world is how are you? All right, so that's what we're shooting for here. Next. So far we've used props to pass data to through our components, and this has served just fine. Now that we're dealing with input and data updates, however, we need something more. For one thing, props come from the parent of the component. Our form will not be inheriting a new name or a task. Our input element lives directly inside of the form. So the form itself will be directly responsible for creating that new name. We can't ask form to spontaneously create its own props, but we can ask it to track some of our own data or its own data for us. Data such as this is called state. We've talked about state before. And one thing you're going to hear in here, and you're going to hear in other programming languages, is the importance of keeping state consistent. All right? It's not possible to update the props a component receives, only read them. React provides a variety of special functions that allow us to provide new capabilities to components like state. These functions are known as hooks, and the useState hook, as the name implies, is precisely what we need to give our components some state. To use a React hook, we need to import it from the React module. So in form.js, change the very first line so that it reads like this. So I want to go back to, remember now I think it just says import React from React. I think that's what it says. So let's go to form.js. There's that line. We will change that to this. So we're importing not only React, but useState as well. And I'm going to save. This allows us to import the useState function by itself and utilize it anywhere in this file. useState, as mentioned there, creates a piece of state for a component. Its only parameter determines the initial value of that state. It returns two things, the state and a function that can be used to update the state at a later time. It says this is a lot to take in at once, so let's try it out. We're going to make ourselves a namestate and a function for updating the namestate. Write the following above your handle submit function inside form. So above your handle submit function. There's the handle submit. So hopefully that's what they meant. Now, if they didn't, and it should go up there, I'll have to move it at a later time. But let's just see right now if we can get it to work as I think they're laying it out here. So what's going on in this line of code? We are setting the initial name value as use hooks. We are defining a function whose job it is to modify the name, and that's called setName. useState returns these two things. So the name, which is here, all right, and how we're going to modify the name, which is there. All right. You can see the name state in action right away. Add a value attribute to your form's input and set its value to name. Your browser will render use hooks inside the input. Add this to your form's input. All right, there's the form, there's the input. So let's add to the existing input, let's add that. In fact, I'm looking at that. Look at this. We've already got it, but the only thing we don't have in there is value equal name. So let's put that in here. And let's get rid of the rest of this. There we go. So this is what we added. And again, that name hopefully is going to correlate with that name here. Change use hooks to an empty string once you're done. This is what we want for our initial state. Before we can change the value of name, we need to capture a user's input as they type. For this, we can listen to the onChange event. Let's write a handle change function and listen for it on the input tag. All right. All right, so near the top of the form component. And I'm not sure if they mean up there or in here, but I'm going to try putting it in here. All right. And again, that may be the wrong whoops. That may be the wrong place to put it. I don't know. And then in the return, down in the return statement, add this. Again, I think we've got most of this stuff except for the onChange, but I'm going to double check. So again, I think most of this is in there already. Type text, ID, class, name text, value, name. So the only thing that's new in here is this. Again, I can remove all that. There we go. If this doesn't work, again, I'm fairly certain it's going to be because of the fact that I've got things in the wrong location. One thing I'm a little bit disappointed with so far is they're not showing in a lot of these places here, at least so far, what this is supposed to look like at any one time. In, where they're showing you the code and exactly where it's supposed to be placed. All right, let's just finish this section, and before we get to updating state, we'll put that in the next tape. Currently, your input's value will not change as you type, but your browser will log the word typing to the JavaScript console, so we know the event listener is attached to the input. In order to change the input's value, we have to use our handle change function to update our name state. To read the contents of the input field as they change, you can access the input's value property. We can do this inside of handle change by reading e.target.value. e.target represents the element that fired the event, which is our input. So value is the text inside of it. You can console log this value to your screen, to your console if you want. So again, we could take that and basically, I believe at least, add it right here. Okay. All right, so it looks like this little section in here, and then we can do the thing where it says putting it all together. We'll be about halfway finished here. All right, looping isn't enough. We actually want to store the updated state of as the input value changes. Change the console log to set name as shown before. So this is our handle change. Now we need to change our handle submit function so that it calls props.addTask with name as an argument. This will serve to send the task back to the app component so we can add it to our list of tasks at a later date. As a matter of good practice, you should clear the input after the form submits, so we'll call setName again with an empty string to do that. So we want to change our handle submit so that it looks like this. Again, this may be in the wrong place right now. I'm not sure. All right, so that's done. So we've got the prevent default, we're passing it, and we're clearing it out. At last, you can type something into the input field in your browser, click add, and whatever you typed will appear in an alert dialog. Your form.js should now read like this. Well, that's good. All right, I'm going to grab all that and replace my current form.js with that form.js. All right. So again, I may have had stuff in the, my handle submit was not inside a form, neither was my handle change. So mine would have been in error. So let's go in here, and as it says, we should now be able to type something into the input field, click add, and whatever we typed in should appear as an alert. So let's see if indeed that's the case. How about this? Oops, this is a test. Add, this is a test. All right, so when we want to, and it's clearing it. So if we want a new task, so mow the lawn. All right, and there it is. So we're getting there. All right, we've already spent a lot of time in this lesson. We are now up to the putting it all together, adding a task. So I'll pick it up there on the next lesson.